Hey, beautifuls, welcome to another episode of To All the Girls Out There. Today, we have a special guest, someone who is super inspiring to me, someone whose self love was really apparent to me actually when I saw them. I remember always just admiring her from afar, like, wow, she's so cool. Because I don't know, I just felt like it was very rare to stumble across a person that's so intentional about themselves. Like, I feel like you don't see that a lot anyway in my life. So I'm hoping today she'll share some of that like inspiration with you guys. And today's guest is Alex. Woo!
Good
Thank you so much for
morning.
being here, Alex.
Oh, thank you so much. What an intro. I mean, so good to be here.
No, honestly, I had to have you on because I was like, I was scared to ask, I'm not gonna lie, but I was like, no, like she would be a good person to have on. So I had to kind of just go for it. And we're here. I'm so glad that we're here.
Yeah, honestly, I'm so honored because for me, I at least I used to listen so many podcasts and it was like a big part of my learning journey. And then when you asked me to be on one, I was like, wow, this is really cool. So really excited to have this conversation with you.
Honestly, thank you. So we're gonna obviously like I've experienced you, but we want the guests to know you a little bit better. So we're gonna start from maybe like your younger Alex. So
Mhm.
if we take a trip down memory lane, when you think back to your younger self, who was she? Like what was she like?
Gosh, I think I would probably start, I don't know, when I was 11, I left to Switzerland from my home country and I went to a boarding school. So I was studying alone, away from my family. And that was the first kind of step into my journey of becoming maybe hyper independent, I would say, and just learning how to navigate life, living with 40 other girls in a boarding house, away from your family. You don't have that guidance. And it was hard, especially to start with. You don't speak like I didn't speak English very well. So I think I was very shy. I didn't speak very much, and I kind of put myself in that shell. And as I grew older, I started to gain a bit more confidence and learn more about myself, about the world. And I feel like I've come a really long way from that younger self that I was when I first, yeah, went to school, I'd say.
Boarding school. Do you feel like you still see elements of that younger version in you now?
Definitely, I think there's some moments when either you feel like a bit of a trigger or a reminder and you're like, oh, like this is how I would have behaved or this is what I would have thought. And then you're like, oh yeah, but I'm not that person anymore, which is quite refreshing. um and I think you like it's a nice feeling to have because I'm really grateful for all the experiences that I've had. Some things I wish I had maybe a bit more guidance, so I would have approached them in a different way. But I think in the end, that all contributed to the person I am today, and I'm really grateful for that.
Mhm. What was boarding school like? Like, especially
I think, to be honest, I that was quite a long time ago now, and I think I want to think that people were different. So I grew up in the time of like Gossip Girl and Vampire Diaries, so I think there was a lot of pressure on girls to do certain things, behave a certain way, like wear certain clothes and makeup, and just, even if you've seen America's Next Top Model, that's something that was on TV every weekend for us. And you thought, oh, this is the norm, like the beauty standards and the way that the world treats women. And now I watched the show, the recent one on Netflix um, about America's Next Top Model, and I thought, wow, like no wonder we had so many difficulties accepting ourselves and being comfortable with our bodies and behavior back then because this was the norm. So
and how did like that affect you when having like those shows and those kind of expectations at that time in your childhood?
I think you didn't think of it as much, right? But I think definitely, for example, like the clothes you wore, you thought, oh, you had to look like if you're going out, you had to wear a tight dress and high heels and loads of makeup and just stand out. And it's not comfortable. Now that I think about it, are you gonna be able to have fun on those gigantic high heels? I don't know. Maybe someone is comfortable with it, but certainly not when you're like 17, 18 years old. So yeah, I think a lot has changed since then, and which is a positive thing, I think.
Yeah. But don't you feel like I feel like it is still happening to an extent today. I feel like with social media and young girls. I mean, maybe not the same extreme. I don't think it might be shown as much in TV, but I think now because of social media, you have a lot of girls, like young girls, comparing themselves sometimes, with like just seeing other girls wearing like makeup or like lashes and stuff. I think it is something that kind of still happens to today, but I think also on the other side of that, there's still a lot more awareness going on. Like, you don't have to be like that. But yeah, I do think it's still somewhat an ongoing theme. Do you think so too? Or
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's different kinds of pressures now, and it's important. I think now I probably recognize it more, and I think you know what, like obviously you do you if you want to wear whatever you want, like, but you need to think, why am I doing this? Is it because I feel good in doing these certain things or like wearing certain clothes, or is it because the society expects me to do this, or you know my group expects me to do this? Is it because of an external expectation, validation, or is it because it comes from within and this is me and I feel good about this? And I think that's something important to recognize and can be really difficult, especially with social media. There's so much information coming from different angles that it can be really hard to navigate, especially when you're just trying to find yourself as well.
when did that actually come into your life?
Think that was at the end of my high school. So, oh gosh, I make myself sound like I'm really old, but
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not. But probably at the end, Instagram just came in, and it was quite a small community, and you could follow you could find some not influencers yet, but just people who share the same interests as you, and it was quite cute. You put loads of filters and um kind of send messages or comments to people that you just have similar interest with. And then it started to pick up really at university, and I think then you started, you know it's a complex topic, I think, because I'm not an expert in this, obviously, just sharing my own opinion. And then it picked up really at university, and then like yeah.
So I'm assuming at university, like it would have had a different, like, I don't want to say impact, but like, yeah, experience as to how it would maybe like now, or like, for example, for me, we might have different experiences. So like,
Mhm.
for example, for us, social media is a thing from like what, I want to say even primary, like the end of primary school,
Mhm.
social media plays such a massive part. And then you go to secondary school and it's like Snapchat is a must have, Instagram is a must have, and then like if you don't have these things, you're basically missing out because everything is on there. That's where you get your information from. Um, that's how you speak to people. You even meet new friends online. Like it is literally like the foundation. If you're not on social media, it's like, so when it did come out for you, like in university, was it like, oh, you must have, or was it just a bit like, oh, this is.
Yeah, I think you definitely found ways to connect. Like, for example, Facebook was a lot more popular then, and you had different events. Even at university, if you wanted to keep track of, some socials, then it would be more likely that you would get to know about it online rather than through word of mouth. It's a little bit of both, but still, like that was picking up then. And if you wanted to keep track, then yeah, it was similar because you wanted to be there. You didn't have to be, but that's a lot of information that would you might potentially miss out if you weren't. So
Yeah. You know what? Speaking of social media, I want to talk about yoga, your yoga page. No, because I remember one of the things that made me like, when you told me that you do yoga, I was like, whoa, like that is so sick. Like I love yoga so much. It's so cool. And I find it so cool that you've done that and you've become like an instructor, you've done the training and stuff for it. So yeah, what was like happening in your life when yoga found you, when it came about?
yeah, that's actually a big topic for me because I so when I was at university, I really struggled to find balance if in like, you know, workload, social life, relationships, whether it was friendship, romantic. And there was a point that I was just so exhausted. Like I didn't have time to go to the gym, or I was always just wanted to sleep and I didn't have the energy. And my personal life was kind of falling apart, and I had a really bad breakup. And this time around, I thought, you know what? I'm not going to let it break me and, just, you know, destruct me even more. But I'm going to look after myself and I'm going to look after my body and start with that. So I kind of started to wake up maybe 5 minutes earlier and do a little 5 minute stretch. And then that 5 minute stretch became a 10 minute stretch because it felt really good. And then I was like, you know what? That good feeling. I want more of it. So I'm going to wake up even a little bit earlier so I can squeeze that in. And it just became a habit. And it was a moment for me to connect with myself and with my body. And I just started with some YouTube videos, to be honest, like a little stretch, a little wiggle. And then I moved my body, kind of had that blood flow that helped me to wake up. And it really set me for the rest of the day because I knew, this these 15 minutes, they were mine and nobody could take it away. And I think especially in the morning, there's not as much noise of, text messages, to-do lists, and people ringing you or whatever. And that was kind of my moment of self-care. And I started to explore it initially just from the physical side. So, I did it because it made me feel good. And then I started to learn a little bit more about what is actually yoga. It's not just the physical aspect, but it's also the way you approach life. It's your state of mind. It's, the meditations. It's the way like you consume information, your thoughts. It's a lot of things. So I started to get curious and um, I think doing a little bit more, going to different classes, seeing different teachers, how they approach it. And I think when COVID happened, you had a lot more time. So then I was like, you know what? Those 15 minutes became an hour. And I really started to see, ooh, like I can explore my body a little bit more and try different shapes. And it was just a moment to express your creativity. So I then decided, I really want to do a yoga teacher training, but to do that, I needed to take 3 weeks off. And I had this dream that I really wanted to do it in Bali because it's just a place that I really wanted to go to. And just being able to combine it, I think was really on my, like I was manifesting this. And I thought, you know what I really want is just wake up and like stare at the rice fields and just feel the fresh air like after the rain, after I've done like a yoga class, and that's where I want to be. And I so but that by that point it was maybe like 3 or 4 years later, um when I first started doing a little bit of yoga. And I had the opportunity to actually ask with work that I can have those 3 weeks off. I then moved from Switzerland to London, which was also on my on my bucket list, and was going through a really really bad breakup at this point. So again, I was like, you know what, I really need this time for myself. And I went for 3 weeks, did my yoga teacher training, and it was really transformative for me. And I remember at the end of that training, I was on the balcony and it was I think just New Year happened like the 1st of January, and it was raining, and I was looking at the rice fields and I was like, this is it. Like I am living my dream that I really wanted, a couple of years ago, and it was just such a beautiful moment to experience.
That is so cool. It's so sick because you said like, okay, I'm gonna like this is what I want, this is what I'm gonna do, and then like you actually did it, you know? And it
Yeah,
seemed like it was so healing for you.
and I think for me it was like I think it's important to have some goals or some dreams, and at that moment when that was my dream to do a yoga teacher training in Bali, that seemed impossible, oh, cannot, like, it's expensive, I need 3 weeks off, like I need to invest a lot of time and effort to find like the right training, the teacher, etc., etc. But I had that in my mind and I worked towards it. And it was really little steps. It didn't happen straight away. I think it happened maybe like a year and a half after that first idea. Um, but it was something really clear that I wanted to do. And I think it was important for me to have that direction that I can work towards so that you're able to achieve it. So, yeah.
Like, it's kind of like where there's a will, there's a way, right? When the desire came to you, was it like just so clear? It was like, yes, I know that this is what I want to do.
Yeah, and to be honest, I didn't really know what it will bring to me, because at that moment in time, I was like, I don't actually know what a yoga teacher is. I know, and then I started to find out actually it's 200 hours of learning about anatomy, about philosophy, about, posture, pranayama, which is breath work. It's a lot of things combined. And I was like, you know what? I'm doing the physical practice of yoga. I really want to know more. Um, how can I, where is the right place for me to do that? What are the right teachers? What really aligns with me? And I explored different options in different countries as well. But then when I found this place, it just really aligned in terms of dates, in terms of the teacher, in terms of the location. And I was like, this is exactly it. And the decision was easy because you had that in your mind, like what you want. So
It was clear cut. So from the moment you knew, okay, cool, I want to go to Bali, I want to be an instructor, but you still didn't know like what it was going to bring or how you was going to do it. From there onwards, was you like, you mentioned that you was taking little steps, but like what did the steps kind of like entail?
well, firstly, I started because firstly was the price, right? So I thought, you know what, my takeaway coffee, £5. If I invest that £5 on like a weekly basis, I can start saving a little bit of money. And it's a really little step. Just skip one takeaway coffee and then put it in your saving pot, and then you can use it for later. And I started practicing more yoga on my own and then going to different classes to see, okay, what is the type that I enjoy? Is it vinyasa? Is it hatha? Is it ashtanga? So that I know which course I can take. I started doing research as a solo female traveler. Where is it safe to go? How can I do it? I started asking maybe people, um, some of the people I knew who's done those courses before. I reached out to some of the yoga schools and said, "Hey, is it possible to speak with some of your like people that graduated?" So I even had a call with one of the girls that graduated from this particular school, and she told me about her experience, which was really great. Um, and then I obviously started speaking with my employer and see, what is possible because normally we couldn't take more than 2 weeks off. And then I thought, you know what? Well, Christmas, you already have days, when the office is closed, then I can just take a week here, a week here. It's split between one year and the other because it's New Year's. And that just worked out. So I would say maybe some of these things.
Yeah. Wow. That's actually super inspiring because it's like you had like it in mind, yeah. And a lot of times when you have a vision, when you have something in mind, like your mind can go to doubt a lot of the time, especially if you're in a position where it's like, oh, well, how am I going to have the money to do it? And a lot of the time people will brush it to the side, you know, but you had an ambition and you was like, you know what? I'm going to try to make it work. I'm going to put the little £5 because it's so easy to be like, actually, no, like, what's £5 going to do? Like,
Mhm.
I need
Exactly.
a whole trip. Yeah, exactly. But you took those steps and look, that's super inspiring. That's so cool.
Yeah, and I think like life will test you and it will test your desires, so to speak. Like, for example, it will say you want to do something and then it will put some hurdles on your way. And it's really to test if that's what you really want. And I think for me, like, initially my employer said, no, you can't take 3 weeks off. This is just not going to happen. You know, okay, but I really want this. What can I do? Can I have another conversation? Can I maybe find another training that's 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there? Or maybe there's some remote trainings. Like there are ways that you can find, and don't underestimate the power of small actions. It was the same when I first started my yoga, right? And it was just a 5-minute wiggle before I started my day. You think, oh, 5 minute stretch is not going to do anything. But actually, this is a time for you. This is a time to move your body, get your blood flowing. And if it feels good, you want to do it more. So it makes it easier to wake up a little bit earlier. Or even if it's, you don't have to be an early bird, maybe it's in the evening before bed. And then I also read this book, I think it was called Kaizen. So it's like a way that you can attach small habits to your already daily routines. And for me, it was, for example, the first thing I do, I wake up, I go brush my teeth and like
Mm,
wash my face. So for me, it was like, okay, how can I stack my habit? I wake up, I brush my teeth, wash my face, do my 5-minute wiggle, and then what was it like? Put my moisturizer on. So I just stack my habit in between, which makes it a little bit easier. It just sounds a bit less intimidating, right? Because you think, oh, yoga, no, I'm not flexible. So many people say it. And it's like, well, it's not about being flexible. For me, it's just finding time to connect with my body, whatever it has to be. I don't have to do a headstand in those 5 minutes. I can literally just do a couple of twists, like put my arms up, stretch on the right side, left side. And that's already something. And I know, I'm taking care of myself because this body is going to perform and be active for the rest of the day, whatever I'm doing, whether I'm going to work, whether I'm, walking somewhere, making my breakfast, whatever. That is going to carry me through the day, and I might as well just be kind to it.
exactly. And that's a beautiful thing. Like honoring your body and seeing that, like yoga, for example, like your 5-minute wiggle has turned into a whole lifestyle, and it's just so cool because I love yoga. Even for me, like but I stopped for a very long time, and I think just this week I started doing it. I started what's the word? Like watching the YouTube videos, and I'll do the 10-minute one. And it feels so good. Like when you stretch your body, it's like, wow. But
Yes.
like I'm a bit stiff now. Today when I did it in the morning, I was struggling. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, it is very like your body feels good after it. And I feel like it's very important to look after the body that you're given. And for some people, it might not be yoga, the thing that they like to do. It might be gym, it might be other things. But in your situation, it was, and it changed your life, like from what you're saying. What would you say are the biggest like changes that yoga has done for you?
I think it's just connecting more with my body, um, and noticing how I'm feeling. So whether it's, sometimes I think when I was at university, I said I was on autopilot. I was like, late nights, early mornings, not really nourishing myself with proper food. Like you could take fast food or takeout, um, or you would skip a meal and just have coffee for breakfast. And then I didn't notice that I was so exhausted. And I was like, why am I always so tired? Why am I always so stressed? Like my adrenaline is just always pumping. And I think taking the moment to just slow down and really sit with yourself and be like, you know what? Breathe. Like, what is it? You know, am I tired? Am I energized? Like, is it because I just need a little bit more rest? Is it maybe I should skip the social event and just really have a night in? What is it that I really need right now? And just having the moment to pause and assess, how am I feeling really? Because you're just so used to just running around and doing things. You don't really sit down and think like, oh, you know, what do I need right now? And I think it taught me to just pause and be kind. Remember, that I think, yeah, just be kind to yourself because that's the little thing that you can do.
And I feel like it's very apparent in the way that you are now, in the way that like you carry yourself. I think it's very clear that, you're more like intentional about yourself and you are kinder to yourself. I do acknowledge that, like, no one is perfect and whatever. But for me, like when I would see you, I was like, wow, like that is something that I aspire to have for myself, especially in a world where everything is go, 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 hustle, get your dreams. Sometimes we do forget, like, give yourself the grace, look after your body, like the things that you want to achieve. If you don't look after yourself, you're not going to be able to do it. And I think it's a beautiful thing that you've learned that and you embody that now.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's easy to say, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not just this yogi that's just eating salad all day long. And I have takeout. I love a good, some fries and a burger. I have late nights. I sometimes need to skip a meal as well because of work, because of stress. But then, I know, for example, if I'm in a stressful period, I need more rest. So I will try to have an early night if I can. Or if I know I'm going to have a busy week, I will try to take some time out of my day and just pre-make some food because that's going to make me feel good later. And that's my way to self-care really. It's just, prep some meals for the week or even just one, or have an early night or, maybe swap like a chocolate for some fruit. Um, if that's what you like, I appreciate some people don't, but I I do, for example. So yeah, things like that. I think just having those little shifts in your
Yeah.
day.
Those like micro changes,
hmm
they make all
Because
the difference.
I think if you say, okay, I am going to be healthy, I'm going on a diet, I'm going to work out 7 days a week and just eat like no sugar at all. This is really restrictive. And I just try to think like, okay, why would you do this? Is it because you want to punish yourself because you weren't good before? Or is it because it's serving you, Like, for example, I will have some fruit because I know this is going to nourish me. Or like I'll have some quinoa, swap quinoa instead of rice because this is something like that will give me a bit more nutrients. I'm not doing this because rice is bad and this is good, for example. Um, or because I need to eat less today because I ate like a fast food last night. It's more because, I think I need a little bit of extra and I'm going to give that to myself. And that's okay.
it's like your intention behind it is like to honor yourself, to honor your body, to do like, what's best for you rather than and going cold turkey or strict regime,
For
like
sure.
I need to eat this, I need to eat that. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. And it's the same with exercise. I enjoy exercise because it makes me feel good. And I try to do also weight training twice a week because I know that it makes me feel stronger. And for me, it's fun. Some people might find it boring. Like also some people find yoga boring, and I completely respect that. I do think you should try a different type of yoga, but but yeah.
We're gonna move to a section I called Giving Her Flowers. So in this section, it's a section dedicated to women and honoring women or giving women her flowers, because in society today, I feel like we're always put against each other. We're bringing each other down. So I wanted to have a part where we just celebrate each other. So is there a woman or a set of women you would like to give flowers to or just state your gratitude or appreciation for?
Say I was thinking about this, and I think it's a beautiful gesture to just, yeah, ap- appreciate and honor other women. And there are so many beautiful women in my life, like my girlfriends, that's been with me through thick and thin, like supported me through all the ups and downs. I think just really, really appreciate them. And I'm not going to mention specific names, but I think they know who they are. And I think having that support group of women who, even especially younger younger self, when I was going through difficulty with breakups, and literally I think I remember there's a moment I was just completely shattered, and my friend was like, "You know what? Get yourself together. You're going to ace those exams. You're going to look after yourself, and I'm going to help you." And I was like, "You know what? Thank you. I appreciate you, and I need that support, and we all need that support from each other." And also support to yourself, like buy yourself flowers. You deserve it. Give yourself a little bit of love. So yeah, I would give it to all the women in my life, and whoever is listening now, just get yourself those flowers.
Yes. There's literally a book called Buy Yourself the Damn Flowers by Kat.
Exactly.
Exactly. I love that. Girlhood is so important. Like, I feel like sometimes we do underestimate it, but having your friends, having that support around you, it's just such a beautiful thing that we do take for granted. Um, but yeah, I feel like there's no, just having your friends, having your girls, having people around you, that is such a beautiful and unique thing within itself to have that support, especially when you are going through those like times.
Mm,
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
it's a gorgeous thing. So, Alex, have you experienced anything? Well, you did mention breakup, but like that has really like deeply changed you as a person.
Um, I think I would say a major shift for me was when I moved to London. Because I grew up in Switzerland, and I felt like for me, I grew up on a lot of British authors and films and series. And it was always like every time I came to visit, I just loved the city. And it was always that other dream that I had. And when I took the leap and with my job, I had the opportunity to move with the job here after COVID. And it was really scary. And I was like, I'm leaving my whole life behind. Then I was like, you know what? That's what I wanted. Why would I be scared? It will be different, but I have to give it a try. And I think from then on, that was the first step to doing what I want to do rather than what was expected of me, I would say. So what was expected of my family, what was expected of like the society, because I was living a comfortable life in Switzerland. You know, I had a job, I had a relationship, and then my family was like, "Why would you leave everything?" Like so many people say, "Why would you ever want to leave Switzerland?" You know, um, but it was for me. It was too quiet. It was too it's a beautiful country, and I love to go back. And I think one day maybe I will. Um, but I loved, you know, to have a bit of life in this multicultural environment, also in London. And yeah, that was the step that I was like, you know what, this is what I want and not my family. And I'm going to go for it and I'm going to give it a try because I can always go back. And you can always go back to what you know, but what you don't want is to have those regrets of not trying.
Mm, yeah. You mentioned like your family, you was before you was doing a lot of what was expected of you. What was expected of you?
So I think it's well, obviously they love Switzerland, and for them it was like, you know, just stay there. You can live a comfortable life. You should get married, and you should like start a family because you're becoming older. And bear in mind, I wasn't even 30 then, so it was kind of like, you know, you're just getting older, and as a woman, I feel like you have a lot of pressure from that. And I thought, you know what? I still have the rest of my life. And not saying that that's not what I want, but that's not what I want right this moment. And I think just stepping away from that and being like, you know what? I'm a grown woman. I can make my own decisions and I respect your input and I appreciate, you know, you're just looking out for me, but you need to pave your own path and learn on the way as well. It was scary. You were going into the unknown, but I was really lucky that I had my amazing girlfriends in the city. So they really helped me to integrate and to, you know, find find my way and really settle in. And honestly, I've had no regrets since, and I've met new people, new friends here. Um, and when my family did come to visit, they understood and they were like, you know what, this is actually really cool, like that you're living this life and you're doing these things, and we're really happy for you that you just did what you wanted to do. So I think that was also really nice to hear and for them to experience too.
It's so interesting how like, you know, when you're from like different places, people you experience places differently too. For example, like you've come from Switzerland and you've come here. But then I think, oh, Switzerland seems like such a cool place, right? But then also, I was like born and raised here, and it's so interesting how like I'm like, oh, when I'm older, I need to get out of this country. But then it's like there's people who actually want to come in. It's so cool. It's very interesting, like the different perspectives of that. When you came here, what do you feel like were some of the biggest lessons that you've learned?
And that's a good question. I think the pace of corporate life was definitely much quicker. It was a lot more dynamic, but I think that's what I wanted to experience as well because I was like, you know, um, so just a side note, because I am a yoga teacher, but I also have a corporate job, which is my full-time job. And I think that was challenging at the beginning because I wasn't used to it, but finding also balance, I think, between social life and looking after yourself. Because I think I was definitely very much go, go, go at the beginning. And it was kind of ups and downs between, you know, oh, I need to learn how to really, like I was saying, maybe pre-cook some food for myself to make sure that I'm nourishing myself and not just like eating whatever, or that I'm doing too much, like over planning, because there's so many things to do in London and you want to experience them all. And you want to see lots of friends and meet new people. And I think just stopping and being like, you know what, actually, if I have a day at home, I don't need to feel FOMO. I can just be content with myself. So yeah, definitely at the beginning that was a learning curve to just slow down.
London is very like very fast paced. So it's like you have to what's the word? Like really learn how to take that time with yourself. Otherwise it like goes the other way, because I a lot of the time when I hear people who have moved from outside of like the UK and come here, they always say how much more stress they feel
Mhm.
like when they come here. And I think um that to slow down is not as encouraged when you're here as much. Is that something that you found?
For sure. It's even like, if you stand on the escalator, if you stand on the wrong side, this is not it. You cannot stand on the other side of the escalator and not let people pass, because people will pass because they need to go places. In Switzerland, everyone just, crams the whole escalator. You stand on both sides, nobody moves because nobody is in that much of a rush. And that was a change. And I think now I go anywhere else and I'm like, why are you standing on the wrong side of the escalator? Because I need to get places. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a lot more people in general on the streets, and it can feel quite overwhelming. Um, but I think you learn how to find pockets of time and how to find ways of what works for you, and that balance as well, essentially.
Did it like did it make you become impatient in a way? Because I feel like here that's the nature. Like, why are you walking so slow?
Mhm.
And it's just like,
Mm, maybe. I think I just became a lot more quick, I think, in my mind, like in terms of maybe decision making, uh, the way I process things. I'm still intentionally trying to slow myself down because, especially with work, when I really get into that cycle of, go, 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 you're just like, okay, breathe, slow down. This is where yoga comes in. um, yeah.
okay, so something you mentioned earlier, a lot of your yoga came from things like, like life-changing experiences, whether that be heartbreak and whatnot. What's something you wish you understood earlier when it
Mhm.
comes to relationships?
Yeah, that's a good one. So many things, to be honest, but I think the main one is you will be okay. Like, if anyone listening and is going through a heartbreak or, a difficult time in your relationships, it might seem like it's never going to heal, but I promise you it will. It might take a really long time, and it's a journey. It's never linear, it's always up and down, but it will get better. And I think the most important thing for me, um, was just, instead of going into a destructive state of, like, maybe punishing yourself with sleepless nights and, in your mind, just replaying the situation and thinking, oh, what could I done better or said, or this or this or this, and just really overthinking everything. I was definitely, I still overthink, and especially when I was younger, it was a huge pattern for me. But just giving yourself the grace and, you know, mourning that relationship or that situation, but knowing that you're stronger than that and things get better and you will be okay. And you don't need to punish yourself for that, but just rather look after yourself.
Because it can be a very like hard period. Did any lessons of like self-worth come from those? Because I know when it comes to breakups and like those kind of things, it can always lead you to looking at yourself differently. Was I the problem? What did I do wrong? Am I not enough? It always can taint your view and your image of yourself. Was that something that you also had to work on?
Yeah, I think what people sometimes say to like hurt you, or whatever the situation is that hurt you too, it's not a reflection of you. Like, even if if a relationship didn't work out, it's not because it's not always because you did something wrong, or you know it's just sometimes that people are not good together, and that's okay. Obviously every relationship is different, but I think not taking it on yourself, like, I wasn't good enough because I didn't do something, or I didn't save it, or I wasn't pretty enough, or I wasn't, understanding enough. But I think just knowing your self-worth, that if something doesn't align with you, and you cannot, like, obviously have an open discussion about it, but it's okay that if sometimes you cannot move past it as well, if that makes sense. The main thing is just don't take it on yourself that you are not worthy, because sometimes it's just, it doesn't work out. And I think you need to believe that you deserve, like, if you have certain standards, I think that's what I'm trying to say. If for you it's important to be treated in a certain way, and you don't want to be spoken aggressively, for example, this is, your baseline. I think it's good to set those boundaries and be like, this is not okay for me. And I will be strong enough to find another relationship that, actually, no, I don't know how
No,
to say it.
no,
Does that make
I
sense?
feel like I get what you're trying to
Mhm.
say. I think it's like having the confidence to know what your like your non-negotiables are,
Mhm.
what your
Exactly.
boundaries are, and being strong enough to know that if someone isn't gonna if someone can't like tick those boxes or can't respect those boundaries, then I know that I'm strong enough to walk away because I know that there's someone else that will.
Yes.
Kind of like that's the
Exactly.
you're trying.
Exactly. And I think it's not like, basically what I always say is the longer you're with the person that's not right for you, is the longer you're prolonging the time that you're not with the right person. And like, I walked away from a 6-year relationship, and it was really scary. And a lot of people were saying, you already invested 6 years of your life, like, it's a long time. And it was scary, but I knew deep down that this isn't the person for me. And I took the leap, and like, now I've met my person, and we're engaged now, and I'm super happy. And it's just, you have to believe, and that this is what you deserve. And even if it's like a really long-term relationship that doesn't make you happy, and I think you need to be honest with yourself, that, are you doing it because you're scared, or is it because you don't believe that you will find anyone else better? Um, or are you just used to the familiar, and it's, like I said, it is scary to take the leap.
And the other thing is like there are a lot of girls who hold on to like potential or the idea that you might be unhappy in this relationship, but what if he changes? What if he does come back and do right? And I think a lot of the time like people do hold on to that. What would you say to the girls who might know that, that they should leave or know that they're unhappy, but they're feeling scared
Hmm.
inevitably, or they just, they're too scared to take that leap because I feel like it is very common, you know?
For sure. And I think we as women, we always have the tendency that we want to save our partner, and we think, you know what? They're going to change for us, and we're going to save them, and they have their own kind of traumas and difficulties, but we will be the ones to help them. And I was one of them. And I truly believed, and our relationship was really, I think we broke up, got back together like 3 times. And I was like, no, this time will be different. And I think just at some point I realized, you know what, I deserve better because it just does not align with me, and our views on life and future are not the same. And I just imagine myself like a few years down the line, just feeling it, being in a relationship, but being alone. And I thought, you know what, I don't want that. And I think, yeah, it can be scary at any age. If you're 20, 30, 40, 50, it's a really big decision to make. But I think you just need to believe in yourself that, you know, if the other person is not making that effort. And I think another thing I would say is, for me, when I was younger, I never voiced my feelings and, you know, like said, this is not okay with me, or, you know, this made me feel a certain way. And I just internalized a lot of things and thought, oh, like this is normal, or, you know, you need to suffer in love. A lot of the films, I think, is like, oh, if romantic passionate love is only the love that's being suffered. No, it shouldn't feel that way. You shouldn't, you don't need to be always anxious and nervous, and the right person is going to make you feel secure, and they're not going to press on your insecurities, but rather help you avoid them, you know. And it's like, to one person, you, for example, you'd get anxious if you don't send, I don't know, if you're out and you don't check in with them after like a few hours. And then the anxious person, like myself, would be like, oh, where is he? Like, what is he doing? Like, you know, is he okay or whatever? Does he still love me? But then the right partner, if they know that you have that tendency, they won't make you feel that way. They won't make you wait. They'll say, hey, like, I'm out. I'll be back a little bit later. Like, I'll text you. That's it. And that's enough to alleviate that anxiety, because obviously when you're with someone you love, you don't want to make them feel worse. and I think um and I think just knowing that, and that you deserve that, and it should be the norm. It's not the norm to, you know, always be anxious.
Yeah. Like have to endure hardship.
Yeah.
Percent. And I feel like there's so many different things that go into a relationship. One thing that I hear a lot of people say, I want to know if you like believe this too, is that you need to fully be healed before you can get into like a relationship or another relationship. Um, I get it, but then I feel like there's two sides to a coin, you know? But
hmm
what's your take on it?
I think it's a really interesting topic. I'm glad you mentioned that, because um essentially, what is a healing journey, right? I think we're all constantly evolving, and we're all constantly processing and learning new things, and maybe having some more like traumatic experiences on our way. I think a relationship is being with another person where you expose your most vulnerable self. Um, and that's something that can also help to heal you, or it can add more insecurities or trauma into your life, depending on the person that you're with. I think a relationship is definitely something that mm, is a way for two people to grow, and it's definitely something that can push both parties to grow and learn more about each other, and to heal some of those traumas, like you say. But it can also trigger a lot of things. So you can either, it can trigger and you can escalate and make it worse depending on the other person's reaction, or it can trigger something and it's an opportunity for you both to work through it, you know? And I think it can be a beautiful thing. It can be a really difficult thing as well, but it's definitely something that makes you learn more about yourself, about each other, about your reactions, because certain things you won't maybe necessarily see um, by yourself. Because normally, with when you're with someone, you would like for that person to be honest with them, and that's hopefully when you can have those open and vulnerable conversations about, hey, this made me feel a certain way. Okay, let's see. Let's approach it without judgment. For example, like, oh, I get really anxious if you don't message me. Like, why? Oh, this is because in the past this happened. Okay, I understand. Like, I won't make you feel this way. And this will help to heal that side of you that's maybe a bit distrusting or anxious or worried. Um, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I think that was so beautifully put. Like it can it can help to heal you, but then it can also be destructive if it's not the right person. And I think it just goes to show like it's about the person, like making sure like you're with the right person, right? Because it's even like, for example, some may argue like, let's say you have an anxious attachment style. I used to have a really bad anxious attachment style, and it's like it forces you to look at, okay, I have an anxious attachment style, but let's say your partner does help. There's also only so much your partner can do,
Hmm.
right? For example, if they do message, like that's a great thing that they can say, okay, cool, I'm going to make the effort to message. But then let's say they've messaged and you're still spiraling.
Hmm.
That's then a mirror for you to look at
Hmm.
and say, okay, well, my partner has done their part. Now now there's work that I need to do. And I think sometimes it depends like how self-aware you are, but
Hmm.
sometimes I think a mistake that we do make is that we think everything is the partner's job and there's no accountability on our part. And it does take two to make sure that the
100%.
relationship works.
Yeah, that's a really valuable point. And I think it's definitely not your partner's job to fix you. They can only shine a light on certain things and hopefully give you the space to explore that those triggers safely and then help to overcome them. But it's your job and it's a hard job. And that's why it's really an up and down journey. And I think it's important when you are with the right person is to know that you are a team and it's you two against the problem. It's not the problem against you two, you know? So you can work on it together and it's not um yeah, I think going like as an example, I also had a very anxious attachment style and um one of the things like moments that really helped for me to see is when I started seeing my fiance now. We were having like a drink, and then all of a sudden I was laughing, and I just kind of accidentally did something with my hand, and then the glass fell on the floor and it shattered. And immediately in my mind, I was like, "Ah, I ruined our evening. Like I broke a glass. I did such a bad thing. This is awful. The mood is ruined. The evening is spoiled." And then he just got up and he just laughed and he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Like I'll clean it up." Like, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." He's like, don't be silly. Like it's completely fine." And I was like, wow, this is a completely different reaction. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, he's right. I didn't do anything wrong. Obviously, I didn't break it on purpose. Um, and it's not a big deal. We're still having a good time. We'll just clean it up and, continue our conversation. And that for me was like, wow, I completely closed up because this is what I was used to. And I can allow myself to be softer next time because I know that obviously I didn't do it because I wanted to ruin our evening. It's not my fault. I need to step away from that guilt. And that was a learning curve for me. Yeah.
And it's like it opened your mind to a new reality, a new expectation of what is safe,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
For sure.
Because it really could have like you said, like shut down and have that anxiety around, oh my gosh, you know, like this could have been wrong. You know, when you're on your toes, you want to control everything. You don't want to disappoint people,
Yes, for
you
sure.
know. Was you always like a people pleaser type
Absolutely.
thing?
I think when
Yeah.
I was younger, I definitely I think that's why I was quiet as well. You know, I said I was really shy, I was quite closed up, is because I was afraid to to express myself and to say something maybe other people didn't like, or mm, I didn't come across in the right way. And I think as I grew older, like through getting to know myself, putting myself in different environments, um, working also like in therapy, you learn a lot about yourself. And actually, why are you people pleasing? If it comes to your own detriment and you're putting yourself behind the scenes to please someone else, you don't know what the other person wants, or what they're going to think, what they're going to, you know, what they actually want. So all you can be sure of is what you want. So what is it?
When it comes to people pleasing, what do you feel like deep down you're hoping to achieve from it?
Mm, I think it's probably you just want to be liked, but you just need to understand that not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay. And I know that's a very common thing to say, but like I was saying, I don't think we know what everybody thinks of us, and that's okay because we all have different backgrounds, different experiences, different preferences. And I think when you're trying to people please, you're trying to adapt to those people and and your idea of what you think they're going to like. And it becomes a lot harder to attract the people that will like your true authentic self. Whether it's finding friendships, for example, like surely you want to build friendships with the people who like you the way you genuinely are, because it becomes really hard to adapt to every single person. And I think that's how you can also build better friendships, or like more honest friendships that can also help you grow and evolve, because you don't need to pretend and you can just be yourself. And if you allow yourself to be your true self and, you know, behave in the way that is you, and maybe allow the other person to see some of your vulnerable sides, then it gives them a chance to open up too, because then it kind of opens room for that conversation. And it can be a really learning curve for the two of you. I remember like my therapist was telling me, if you don't share your struggles with your friends, then you don't allow them an opportunity to step up, and maybe provide that help. And wouldn't it make you feel sad if you don't, if your friend would say, like, I didn't share that this and this happened and I needed help, because then you feel like, oh, they don't trust me enough. And it's kind of a two-way street, and it's definitely a learning curve. You don't need to kind of trauma dump everything on people that you just met. But um, I think just, yeah,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
100%. I think that is true. That vulnerability leaves space for connection. Like you relate, you're able to help, and you feel that closeness
Hmm.
based on it. It's a beautiful thing. We're gonna move on to if I were you. So if I were you is my little like a help, I want to say like help little scenario part where the previous guest would have left the situation for the
Mhm.
current guest, so yourself, and you are going to respond to that guest with any advice of like what you think they should do, starting with if I were you.
Okay.
And then once you give that advice, you leave a situation for our next guest.
Okay.
Make that make sense? Yeah?
Yeah.
So your situation or question is, how would you overcome being treated differently in a workplace or being treated as less than in the workplace? And then you start your answer with if I were you.
So, how would you overcome being treated less than in a workspace? Just thinking what that means exactly by being treated less, but I guess maybe like taken for granted and not respected. Um, that's an interesting question. I think if I were you, I would I would try to have an open conversation and understand the situation, what's going on. I think bringing honesty to the table and exploring, this is how I feel. Whether it's your manager, I don't know, depending who it's coming from, but exploring that when your manager and, you know, having an open conversation of why this situation is happening. Um, but most importantly, owning up to your strength and not allowing yourself to feel less worthy, because I think a workplace can be a really difficult environment sometimes, and you can have a lot of imposter syndrome, and just know that, you know, that colleague pressure does not define your worth. It does not define your capability. If I were you, I would make sure I remember that.
Well, that's beautiful. I love that advice. I feel like I don't know, is it something that's common in the corporate world? I feel like it must be a
Yeah,
very
I mean, corporate world is another topic of conversation. I just tried to put myself in those shoes because I had a similar situation when, um, your boss was not making me feel good. Um, I felt really like incapable in my job, and it really brought me down and made me question everything I did. That then spiraled and really reflected on my work, and I genuinely became less less confident, which then made me do more mistakes. And it took me a really long time, and I changed jobs, and it took me a long time to get over it and realize that only when I came to a healthier work environment that I was like, actually, I'm very capable and I'm a professional at what I do. And I shouldn't let other people define that because, um, you know, their views are different to mine, and I'm just a different person. They're a lot um, more direct and more loud and more outspoken, whether I'm a lot more kind of, mm, I take my time to respond, and I'm a lot more empathic towards my colleagues and things like that. So I take everyone's opinion in mind rather than just boom, boom, boom. So yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
'Cause it's so important to make sure, like, you go where you are appreciated and acknowledged, right?
Hmm.
Not where somewhere that makes you feel incompetent, especially when, like, people, they'll make you feel like you're less than or you're not good enough. And when you're reminded of, like, how good you are, I think from, like, the first sign of, "Okay, they're treating me like I'm not good enough," is when you need to, like, I don't wanna say leave because everyone has their own, what's the word, like, circumstance,
Hmm.
but it might be the point where you need to actually, like, okay, before this actually changes my opinion on myself, I need to know my worth and the value that I
Hmm.
bring before you treat me as less than. Because there's a lot of people, like, who from the moment that they know, like, hey, you're not paying me enough, or you're not treating me at the level I deserve to be, they will leave.
Mm-hmm.
Especially men, they're very good at like demand
Mm-hmm.
what they need. But us as women, we're like, oh, it's okay. Like, we'll
Yeah,
just talk, it's
for
fine.
sure. And I think it takes a lot to, well, firstly, you need to build that trust. You need to build your own reputation. It needs to come for a reason. But definitely, I think a lot of people now I'm noticing don't communicate also with their bosses, for example, certain things that they're uncomfortable with or certain things that they want more. Like even I'm an executive search, so I'm a recruiter, and a lot of people find it difficult to have conversations around their salary, so it's easier for them to leave rather than ask for a pay rise. It is a difficult conversation for sure, but if you don't ask, you don't get. Actually, men are a lot better at just asking and just being a bit like more direct. And I think there is this stigma around women, if you're being a bit too pushy or you've got that certain, you know, but I think we need to change that. And I think we need to have the confidence to be like, you know what, I can ask for a pay rise. The worst thing that can happen, they can say no. You need to justify it, build your case and definitely say, I've achieved this, 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 and I can bring this and this. Not just like, oh, I deserve it. But I think it's important to be able to communicate certain things that you think either can be improved in the company or done better, and have that confidence in yourself that, you know what you're talking about. Like, this is your perspective and you deserve to share it. Like, they don't have to agree with it. But if you genuinely, for example, like enjoy what you do, but certain aspects of your job are uncomfortable or whatnot can be improved, then have that conversation. This is a learning curve as well to be able to bring that up to the management and maybe feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Anyway, Alex, what is your situation? What would you like to leave for our next guest? Mm.
How would you approach moving through discomfort to reach your goals, to reach
Okay.
your dreams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you approach moving through discomfort? Oh, yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. How would you approach discomfort?
I like that question. Thank you, Alex. Um, what would you say right now, like in this era of life, that you're currently relearning, learning, or unlearning about yourself?
Hmm. I am learning to let go of control, I think. There's a lot of things going on in my life right now with a relatively new job, wedding planning, and sometimes I think I need to just, just have everything under control. So I'm letting go a little bit of that sense of, I have to have everything together all at once, and it's okay if I don't. I am relearning to give myself some grace and some space to slow down as well, just because it's been a lot. Um, and I am learning that I still have a lot of dreams and goals that I want to achieve, and I want to fuel that spark and make sure that it keeps shining and that I keep keep striving for that. And sometimes I might tend to forget, that, oh, I've already achieved quite a few things. Maybe it's time to slow down, but actually no. There's still a lot of things that are in store, and that's a really exciting thing to look forward to.
Yeah, like the drive and like ambition.
Exactly.
Do you feel like making in saying like your goals and all that stuff, do you feel like you want to make your life what's the word? More like whimsical kind of, or like yeah, like ugh, I don't know how to
What
explain
do
it,
you mean
but
by whimsical?
fun, like exciting, like passionate. Just especially when you're an adult, it's so easy to just be like, okay, everything just has to be
Mhm,
structured, work,
mhm,
eat, go, go, go. Whimsical is kind of like bringing back that fun, playfulness
mhm.
side, like the passion, having like passion projects, doing things that just for the sake of it, like for some people it might be, for example, my favorite color is purple. I
I
just
love
like to get
purple.
I love purple. I love to get
See,
everything
I'm
in
wearing like a
purple.
lilac
Yes,
purple shirt.
it's such a beautiful color. My mom will tell me like, Fatima, you're grown now. Like, why do you get everything in purple? But I love the color. So
Yeah.
adding that, like, what's the word? That flair to your life. Is that something that perhaps,
I would say that element of spontaneity because that's what I loved when I first moved to London, and I would just grab my analog camera and just walk around the city with no direction and just explore. And I love that. So I love sometimes to just have a day, whether it's in the weekend when I don't have any plans and I'm just spontaneous, and I really fuel that spark. I think that gets me really, that really fills my cup. And I think I still have a lot to learn, a lot to explore and to achieve. So I think everything that already I went through or what I learned, I'm just kind of piling those pieces together in finding what really drives me and fuels me. And I think with every new experience, I'm like discovering something more about myself. And it's really exciting because, like you said, when you become older and things can feel a bit more monotonous or maybe like getting into your routines, but it's nice to know that it's all in your hands. Like you can still um explore and you can discover something new, you can learn something new, you can change direction, and like what's the worst thing that can happen? You can go back, you can try something else. And I really liked what someone said once, like you're not a tree, you're not stuck in one place, you can move, you're flexible. And I think that's what I try to tell myself, it's all in your hands, and you just need to be brave enough to explore that.
yeah, you really can change anything, like, whenever you want. And you seem like you crave, not crave, but like you like the spontaneity, like being spontaneous and doing things. Like, what kind of feeling does that ignite for you?
Maybe that's a bit of like fueling my inner child, I think, because growing up in a boarding school, you had to do everything on schedule and everything, that was, um, yeah, kind of pre pre-scheduled for you. And I was in a small village, there wasn't much to do. And I think just being able to have that, big city and so many opportunities that you're open to, mm, is a really beautiful thing.
But yeah, that's so sick. I also wanted to ask, has peace been a big thing of yours? Like protecting your peace? Has it always been a priority for you?
Not always, because as
Mm,
a recovering people pleaser, your
yeah.
peace always becomes secondary. I think I always strive for finding balance. That's kind of my motto in life, because sometimes you can deregulate a little bit of either doing too much or too little. So I really strive for that. In terms of peace, I think for everyone it looks very different. I actually had this conversation with a friend in terms of how happiness looks like for her, and one of her friends was like, "Oh, like why aren't you happy?" Like for her, happiness is really like boasting and talking about it and being really external. And then for her, she's like, actually, my happiness is just being curled up on the couch on a rainy evening with the person I love. And it's just that quiet soothing happiness, and it's very different. So I think peace as well, it can look very different for people. It can be something really quiet, and nourishing, or it can be, finding your passion, um, or finding your spark, um, or it can be just having a balance between the two. Um, I wonder what it is for you, for example.
Mm. Oh, not you flipping it on me. Peace for me. I feel like it's just I'm very big on I don't like things that take away my energy, that require my energy without what's the word? Giving it back to me.
Mm,
So I'm very like how do I explain it? But I just for example, say someone annoys me or like you might say something to me. I won't retaliate if I know that what you're saying is silly.
mhm,
But that's because for me to be at peace, I my energy needs to be restored. I just need to know that like my energy is not being leaked everywhere.
mhm. It's just not worth
And
your time, yeah, your
yeah, it's
energy.
not worth my time or like things that are just gonna irritate me or take away from me. I don't feel at peace if I know that everything is everywhere.
Mhm.
Like just making sure that my cup is full, you
Oh,
know?
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a very like out everywhere. It's
Mhm,
just making sure that my small little world is always like intact and my energy. I know that if I'm giving my energy, it is gonna come back to me at some point. Like, you know what I mean? And in a beneficial way. But yeah, what does peace look like to you?
I think it's being in balance. I think it's having a good balance between, you know, um, maybe giving and recharging, because I do I'm kind of a bit of a mix between introvert and extrovert. And I think for me, just being able to not go to one extreme or the other, is really important, to make sure that that I'm aligned with my, you know, with with my journey, like doing something that's true to me and not from like external expectations and things like that. I think that's also part of protecting or reserving my peace.
Yeah, 100%. That's such I feel like you put it beautifully, actually. Like, that's a excellent way of putting it. Do you feel like there was a very noticeable difference between when you before, like let's say when prioritizing your peace wasn't as prominent compared to now?
Yeah, for sure. I think, mm, it was just more about putting myself on the back burner, and just kind of forgetting what is it that I need. Um, really, is it just, like I said, maybe sometimes taking a night in and canceling your plans because that's what you need to recharge, rather than, please please someone else. And I think those people that know you and care for your well-being, they would understand. Not saying that you should always cancel plans, but you know, um, yeah.
Well, before we go, I do wanna ask you one thing, and that is if you could leave one message to all the girls out there today, what would that message be?
I think believe in yourself because you're your biggest cheerleader, and be kind to yourself because, our internal dialogue is with us constantly, and I think, you know it's a lot about your internal conversation with yourself. The world is already, you know, pretty harsh, and there's a lot of external stressors. So just be kind to yourself, and believe that you can do it, and you can.
Oh, thank you, Alex. Thank you so much. Lovely words of inspiration. Thank you for sharing with us as well. How did that feel for you?
Yeah, that was really nice. I think thank you so much for inviting me here, and I hope, maybe someone who's listening will take up some bits that resonate, um, and might interest. But yeah, it's been really, really cool to be here. Thank you so much, Fatima, again to invite me here.
Of course. What's your like link, Instagram, LinkedIn, anything you want to leave for the girls? I'll also put it in the description.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my yoga page is align with alex.yoga. So feel free to follow me, or if any questions, I try to do some yoga in the park in the summer. If anyone is into that, stay tuned for some announcements. But yeah, it's been a real pleasure.
Love that. Thank you. Okay, girls. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.